Hello, good morning. Welcome to Joy News. We're coming to you live from our studios in Kokomlimi. Coming up this morning, doom sort to end in a few days. Words of ECG board chairman as he apologizes to Ghanaians for the pain caused by the incessant outages.
Arrangements in place to procure additional fuel to run all our thermal plants and power producing plants.
Also this morning, newly outdoored NDC running mate Professor Jane Nana Opoku-Agyemang vows all public officials will be prosecuted in the next NDC administration.
John and I have agreed that whoever has participated in the plunder of the state must be held accountable.
She will have oversight, among others, of the education sector, the health sector, gender and social protection.
Plus, Fourth Estate demands publishing of full KPMG audit report in the GRA SML contract after the president asked GRA to continue with the contract to monitor the downstream petroleum sector.
Would be very measured in perhaps attacking KPMG until I see the KPMG report, because I did a JIDA investigation. The president issued some directives on the JIDA report.
We have details for you shortly. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Please do stay for details. President Akufo-Addo has reiterated his government's commitment in investing in the country's power sector. He says several policies and measures have been outlined to incentivize green investment and foster a culture of energy efficiency. President Akufo-Addo made the statement at the commissioning of 15 peak megawatt solar power plants at Kaliu in the Upper West region. Joy News' Upper West regional correspondent Rafiq Salam has more.
President Akufo-Addo noted that the commissioning of the 15-megawatt solar power project at Kaliu is not just about providing electricity, but represented a fundamental shift towards sustainable development. He averred that renewable energy sources such as solar power does not only reduce the country's reliance on fossil fuel, but also help reduce the effect on climate change as well.
By investing in renewable energy infrastructure, we're securing a reliable source of electricity and creating new opportunities for economic growth and job creation. This plant will not only power homes and businesses, but also serve as a catalyst for development in the Upper West region, attracting investment and spurring innovation. To this end, government is implementing a series of policies and measures to incentivize green investments, foster a culture of energy efficiency, and prioritize the development of solar, wind, and hydroelectric power projects as key strategies for the growth of the energy sector in the country. Vision, however, is not only to be energy self-sufficient, but also to set the stage for Ghana to emerge as an eco-friendly country in the region, inspiring neighboring countries to follow suit in their pursuit of a greener, more energy technology-centered future.
President Akufo-Addo spoke of the benefits that the people in the region and the country at large will derive from the commissioning of the solar power plant.
From this plant, adding 15 megawatts of power to the national electricity grid will also improve the quality of power supply in the Upper West region, reduce national carbon emissions by displacing energy that gas-fired thermal plants would otherwise have generated. I'm told that is estimated at 8,000 117 tons. We will also promote practical studies in the development of solar power by the technical universities in the northern part of the country. As I indicated 2 years ago, government is continuously investing in the electricity transmission network to enable the country to evacuate more reliable renewable energy through the national grid to support the extension of electricity to all parts of the country.
Deputy Minister for Energy, Herbert Krapper, assured Ghanaians of the plans put in place by President Akufo-Addo to ensuring that the power outages in the country are a thing of the past.
His Excellency the President has led all of us in the power sector to ensure that we're putting arrangements in place to procure additional fuel to run all our thermal plants and power producing plants at full capacity. And His Excellency the President has also led realignment of operational and technical arrangements in the entire power sector value chain, which is the reason I'm able to assure the people of Ghana that in the next few days, the power challenges that we are seeing under the leadership of His Excellency the President, it will be a thing of the past.
The project was funded by the German Development Bank, KfW, at 60 million euros with counterpart funding from the Volta River Authority, VRA, pegged at 8.2 million euros. Kofi Tutu-Ajare is the board chair of Volta River Authority.
Aside from confirming our commitment to ensure the provision of clean and reliable and sustainable power, the completion of this plant today has enormous benefits to the Kaleo community and by extension the northern parts of the country. And I think it is true to say that with this plant up and running, this community will be the first community in Ghana, including the Wa area, to run solely on solar power on good days.
There were representatives from the Spanish, German embassies and the European Union at the function. Our Powers Regional Minister, Stephen Yakubu, disclosed that the project is of enormous importance to the people, starting from the construction stage, which has employed several people in the region.
During its construction phase, the project provided employment opportunities for several individuals, with 95% hailing from nearby communities. Additionally, the project's corporate social responsibility initiatives, including the rehabilitation of the Kaleo DA Primary School, improvement of road infrastructure, and the potential for tourism development, exemplify our commitment to holistic development and community empowerment.
The Kaleo solar power plant will increase Ghana and Viera capacity to 50 megawatts. It will also diversify the energy portfolio by adding more renewable energy to its fold. Reporting for Joy News, Rafik Salam, Kaleo.
Board chair of the Electricity Company of Ghana, Herbert Krapper, has since apologized to Ghanaians for the intermittent power cuts. The apology was posted on his Facebook page. It reads, and we'll be reading it for you shortly. You'll have it on your screens. He's been apologizing to you for your patience. And he says, we are fully confident that the measures put in place will fix the problem shortly. And he says that we empathize with all consumers and apologize unreservedly for the effects of the outages on our daily lives. Meanwhile, the Institute of Climate and Environmental Governance has since been offering some expert analysis on who must provide a load shedding, and I'll be sharing excerpts of that statement with you shortly. The Institute of Climate and Environmental Governance has taken note of recent statements made by the Senior Presidential Advisor, Yao Osafo-Mafo. The statement suggested only the Energy Minister possesses the authority to order the publication of a power rationing timetable. In light of the ensuing concerns, ICEG aims at providing clarification on this matter and underscore the importance of collaborative efforts and transparency in addressing the challenges. While acknowledging the critical role of government agencies, including Ministry of Energy, managing and coordinating energy-related activities, it is crucial to emphasize the provision of Section 3 of the Public Utilities Regulatory Act at 538. According to this section, the PURC is tasked with safeguarding the interests of both consumers and utility service providers. Additionally, the PURC is empowered to perform any other function incidental to its primary responsibility. Given that the publication of the Dumsor timetable directly impacts consumers' activities and interests, the PURC has the authority to order its release. Contrary to the senior presidential advisor's statement, the decision to publish the Dumsor timetable is not solely within the purview of the Energy Minister. Instead, it necessitates a coordinated approach involving input from various institutions, including the PURC. Meanwhile, workers of the Electricity Company of Ghana in the Ashanti region say they have been forced to abandon the revenue mobilization exercise for fear of their lives. They say they are afraid the conduct of the Ashanti Regional Minister Simon Osei-Mensah, who ordered the arrest of the General Manager for Ashanti Region, Ashanti East, for failing to connect Kumasi Technical University, could embolden members of the public to attack the staff. Chairman of the Senior Staff Association of ECG Ashanti West, John Mensah, tells Joy News the action of the Regional Minister has affected the performance of the workers.
The workers are in red as they hoist red flags in protest of the arrest of the Ashanti East General Manager for failing to heed calls to reconnect power to Kumasi Technical University. The workers say they have been infuriated by the conduct of the Ashanti Regional Minister, Simon Osei-Mensah, who also doubles as chairman of the Regional Security Council, RESEC. They have been demanding an unqualified apology from the regional minister and also withdrawing the police case. Chairman of the Senior Staff Association of ECG Ashanti West, John Mensah, says the workers are afraid of their lives as a result of the conduct of the Ashanti Regional Minister.
We are still going on the revenue mobilization exercise. Our people are there. They are disconnecting, they are collecting revenue. So if the minister can call the arrest of a general manager for a region, then the staff are not safe. The staff who are doing the revenue mobilization in order to get money to fuel the plant and then to take us out of the energy crisis. And you, the minister, you are still pushing, you are encouraging that they shouldn't pay their bill. Then I think that one is unfortunate. So that is why we are saying that you should withdraw the case from the police station so that the staff have the confidence to visit the houses or the premises and collect the revenue. It's a form of threat. It's a form of threat to our members.
On Monday, the National Executive Council of the ECG Workers Union barred all 4 regional managers of the company in the Ashanti region, who are automatic members of the Ashanti Regional Security Council, from attending meetings called by the regional minister. Vice Chairman of the Senior Staff Association, Bismarck Adoma, tells Joy News the workers have been infuriated by the regional minister, who has been defending his action on radio.
We only heard him on radio defending what he did. It makes us uncomfortable. Somebody doing his genuine work and causing his arrest, and you are on radio defending it. So it makes us very, very uncomfortable.
Meanwhile, the workers warned their next line of action could be dire if the regional minister fails to apologize or withdraw the case against the general manager. Yusuf Osmanu Abdullahi is the chairman of the Senior Workers Union, Ashanti East.
We are not deterred. Even if his house is owing, it should be prepared. We are coming on him. Yes. If you are owing, you are a customer, you need to pay. That's all. If he's not owing, we don't have problem with him. But if he's owing, we are coming on him, so we should be prepared. I told you this is the first step, and we have a series of, and if we get to the bridge, we will cross it. The vulnerable is owing and we are disconnecting. How much more the regional minister? It's better for him, or someone should tell him to go and withdraw the case and apologize to the entire ECG fraternity. The Workers' Front are not happy with his actions.
From Kumasi, for Joy News, Oyinminteria reporting.
NDC running mate Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyemang has vowed the next NDC administration will prosecute corrupt government officials. She made the promise at her outdooring last night at the University of Professional Studies, Accra. She also took a swipe at government over what she believes is mismanagement of the economy. My colleague James Savaji has more.
Draped in the symbolic red, white, green and black colors of the umbrella, hundreds of NDC sympathizers and party bigwigs gather here at the UPSA auditorium in Accra to witness the outdooring of Professor Nana Opoku-Agyemang as running mate to John Dramani Mahama.
Professor Jane Nana Opoku-Agyemang.
Chairman of the party, Johnson Asedu Nketia, set the tone for the night by bursting the bubbles of those anxiously waiting for appointment in the next NDC government.
Some people are not only fighting about the positions they will occupy. They are telling all others that they will be the kingmakers and they will be making their appointment. If we are not careful, this will dampen the enthusiasm and the spirit of our followers.
Rolling out her vision to party faithfuls and Ghanaians, Professor Jane Nana Opoku-Agyemang did not shy away from taking a swipe at government.
I don't know about you, but the image I get looking at that hole is a trench in utter shock that anyone could believe it was intended as a Thanksgiving gift to the Almighty, invisible, God only wise. Such a report will not find COVID money shared for partisan political campaign purposes. I will not, in the advancement of self-serving ambition, declare to the whole world that I was only the driver's mate.
So what will her government offer Ghanaians?
The report will highlight new roads, harbors, railway lines, not what we've seen of late, Ayalolo buses. You will find the lack of intimidation of opposing voices. You will find serious investment and practice to enable a digitized economy and society. The report will go on to point at housing projects, including the famous Saglemi housing complex, and even those that somebody has happily raised to make room for a presumed.
Knowing the role Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is playing as head of the economic management team and lead on government digitization agenda and what may be expected of the next Vice President, former President John Dramani Mahama explains what the exact job description of his Vice President will be.
She has great insights into human resource management, empowerment and social development. And under my administration, she will have oversight, among others, of the education sector, the health sector, gender and social protection.
Professor Jane Nana Opoku-Agyemang says the next NDC administration will deal with all corrupt government officials.
John and I have agreed that whoever has participated in the plunder of the state must be held accountable. And my friends, this is not a threat. It is a promise.
As to whether this second John and Jane ticket will deliver victory for the NDC come December 7, 2024, the race has just begun. James Savage, Joy News.
Well, I've been joined by Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. He's Senior Political Science Lecturer at the Department of Political Science at the University of Ghana for a conversation. I'm grateful for your time, Doc. Let me first gauge your appreciation of Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyemang's delivery yesterday. Hello, Doc. Kindly unmute for me.
Good morning to you, Aisha. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, Doc.
Right. I think yesterday what we witnessed was nothing but a true reflection of what somebody who intends to be a leader, and specifically we're talking about running mate, has to be. You are bold, you are fearless, and then you are aware of the problems of the society, and you are ready to fix them when opportunity comes your way. And that is exactly what we saw.
There's much talk about how the professor's partnership will increase the NDC's fortunes, especially in the central region. What are your thoughts on this? Is it automatic?
Yeah, sometimes, and I've been following media conversation about what he brought to the ticket the last time and what is it going to be this time around. That conversation about what he brought to the ticket, I don't know where it's coming from, because I am ready to see any research that people have done that is able to disaggregate the votes that parties obtained in the last election. For you to know that this one, it was Nana who brought it. This one, it was John Mahama. These are other facts. This relate to other factors and all that. All that I'm saying is that there are various factors that influence voter choices. One is the economy, infrastructure development, the fight against corruption, rule of law, unemployment, and a host of them, in addition to what? Energy and energy crisis, how you are going to fix this. So, of course, I am not oblivious of the fact that the personality of what the president or the running mate or the flag bearer is also critical. Some people look at these things. But beyond that, people look at even constituency-specific issues. If there's a place where they are looking for market for women to what? Apply their vocation, and they don't find that. They don't care about who is the running mate or the leader of the party. So that argument that what did she bring the last time, for me, is a WAP argument. The whole, analysis is wrong. There are so many factors. But of course, if you have anybody who is going to be in the seat as what? A running mate, you should have certain qualities that will really allow people to what? Follow her. People will support her. That will also make it attractive to people to follow. But that person alone cannot be the factor that influence voter choice. So all the analysis you see in the media are basically wrong analysis. I must be blunt about it. All right. Yes. If you look at Nana,
go ahead, Doc.
If you look at Nana's, yes, inclusion in the tickets, obviously you are looking at somebody who is experienced. You are looking at somebody who is popular. You are talking about a game of numbers, so popularity counts a lot. Her university work and the work as a politician in the ministry, which is Ministry of Education. Remember, in politics, the ministry will make you popular or not. And once you are looking at Ghanaian society, almost every home, there is what? Education going on. So if there's a policy the minister, during her tenure, was able to put in place, it's obviously her name become a household name, and the rest of this add to the popularity. You are looking for somebody who can step into the shoes of the president when the president is incapable of continuing his tenure. You are looking at somebody with many constituencies. Look at this woman. It comes from so many constituencies, apart from her natural constituency of the central region, specifically where she comes from in a particular constituency. She also appeals to the gender groups, academics, women, by and large, and the general society. Of course, the NDC as a party So all these things are things that are going to support her to be able to add to the ticket and make the ticket meaningful.
For many, Professor Jane Opoku-Agyemang's promise, because she actually emphasized that it's not a threat, but it's a promise that the NDC will go after people who plunder the state, so they face the full rigors of the law. It's quite refreshing. But whether that will ever happen is what many are questioning now. Do you believe that can ever happen, considering how politicians cover up for each other?
All these things can be done if the leaders themselves decide that, look, we will make sure that there is accountability, there's probity. After all, this is not a threat. If you read our constitution, the preamble of it, part of it saying that we, the people of this country, believe in accountability. That at each point in time, we will hold our leaders for their actions and inactions. That's it. And if you extend the conversation to the concept of good governance, accountability is a critical component of it, that public officers will be held to account for their stewardship of their office. So that is there for everybody. And in governance, anybody who leaves office, be prepared that you'll be called upon at any time to answer questions. And that's not a threat. It's part of the oils that grease the wheels of governance so that it doesn't bring it to a halt. So I think that if NDC is serious about it, and it's not going to be just a mere talk, then we want to see them, if power is given to them, implementing this thing to the fullest. Otherwise, let them remember that in politics, what goes around comes around. If you promise this, you are given opportunity, and you do otherwise, the next time you want your mandate to be renewed, I'm afraid you are not going to get that.
Already, the flag bearer has indicated some sensitive sectors that she will directly have control over when the NDC, or if the NDC wins power. I mean, including education ministry, gender ministry, health, employment. Do you see her to have what it takes for that kind of efficiency needed in these sectors?
I don't know what Ghanaians expect of a woman who has gone through the mill and has risen to this level. I don't know. He has all the experience. In terms of knowledge, he has all that. People who have occupied this position previously, do they match up in terms of her pedigree, in terms of what, experience, the quality of person she is? No.
Don't forget that the academia is different from the real life issues.
Yeah, what is different about, are you not managing human resources? Are you not managing? Remember that the university is a microcosm of what? The country. All ethnic groups are there. All religious groups are there. All workers are there. When you are managing both home and abroad. There are foreign students who are there. You are managing resources. And I'm telling you, there's a big one. For you to able to even go through the mill and get to that top, it is not easy. I'm telling you. So if you think that, or if somebody thinks that, oh, he has gone through the university and it's not enough, I'm afraid that's a big one. Let them occupy just a position as a head of department. They will run away and leave their sandals behind. And I challenge people who are saying that, look, he's old, he's this and that, he's not fit for purpose and all that. If those people have those individuals in their homes, I challenge them to bring them forward. And then, mention their names to other parties to use them as running mate. Then we are in competition. Otherwise, they should keep their mouth shut. I'm not saying that this woman, there is nothing that can be said against her and all that. But the issue is that if you have anything, bring it out. That is the basis of it. Because my understanding is that we are making sure that we bring the women up to scratch. We develop them to become the best for society. So if you want to undermine them unnecessarily, people like that will stand up and then support them. All women, it doesn't matter the political divide you find yourself. And I challenge those people that whatever they have against any of our running mates, including this woman, they should bring it forward. And that will enhance the conversation and make it better. But for me, she has the experience, he has the capacity, he has the wherewithal to be able to manage any office. Remember that the public office is not run by an individual alone. We use the bureaucrats to run the affairs of the state. So where she falls short in terms of what expertise, other public officials, the bureaucrats will support her to lift up her game. After all, if you've seen the leaders who have had, some are engineers, some are lawyers, they've been able to manage this office. How much more somebody who has administered at the university level as a CEO of the university and has held a position as a minister for education, that big portfolio, I can say without fear of contradiction that he will be able to manage the affairs of the state.
Well, give
them the power.
Undoubtedly, there are high expectations, actually, not because, even though she's not the flag bearer, but also because she'll become the first woman vice president this country has produced, and if the NDC wins power, and also because there are a lot of people who have said that she really doesn't have any magic for the NDC to win power. I mean, what are your expectations of her?
The woman is going to complement the effort of John Mahama, and of course, they will build on their party's works, their records, to be able to win support of the people. It is the duty of Ghanaians to assess them, whether it is a party worth considering for this time around, and once that decision is made by the general masses of the people, at the end of the day, they will give them their vote and then they win the election. If that is not the case, Ghanaians will show which party is ready for their service. So it's just a matter of time. But we want quality people to show up and demonstrate knowledge that they understand our situation, they are ready to deal with our problems head on, and they are going to govern us with all honesty, so that we know that we can entrust our political power in their care. If we have people who can just come and then will promise heavens and then give us something that is not meaningful, we'll take political notice of that. And when opportunity avails itself the next time, we'll throw them out. It's a simple matter.
I'm grateful for your time. Dr. Asah-Asante, he is a senior political science lecturer with the University of Ghana Department of Political Science. He's also head of the Center for European Studies at the university. And election headquarters is brought to you by Petrosol, your clean fuel in full quantity, Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, together as the Association of International Certified Professional Accountants, and German Ozone Medical Center, alternative therapy, dental, wellness, and beauty. Let's move on to other stories. And investigators on the GRA SML deal are demanding the publication of the full audit report from KPMG. President Akufo-Addo has given the Ghana Revenue Authority the go-ahead to continue the audit contracts of the downstream petroleum sector with Strategic Mobilization Limited after receiving the report from KPMG. According to him, the deal is crucial in saving the country resources. But the Fourth Estate, which exposed the anomalies in the contract, want the full report published. Here is lead investigator Manasseh Azuriawani.
That the president decided to look into it and certain actions have been taken. It is important to stress that the component of the contract that has been cancelled is the biggest component in terms of the revenue we are saving. The upstream petroleum and also the mining sector components of the contract, per our production figures as a country, we were going to pay about $90 million to KPMG every single year. So that angle has been, or component has been cancelled. So it is significant savings, in addition to some price verification aspect that has also been cancelled. Now, the part that has been kept is the downstream petroleum contract. And that one, the president based his decision to keep the contract on the basis that SML is checking under reporting and under declaration. If you watch our documentary, we put this question to SML and asked whether they were doing under reporting or they were checking under the reporting or under declaration. The company said they were doing none of those services.
It was on their website.
It was on their website, and after we confronted them, they deleted that information from their website. The GRA, which awarded the contract to SML, also told us that SML did not and does not check under reporting or under declaration. The most disturbing part of that contract is the measurement that SML's meter claims or meters claim to be taken. Those measurements are not used for tax purposes by even the GRA, which contracted them. We asked the SML engineers, which of the recordings, the NPA has a system called the ERDMS that is connected to the customs system, the ICOMS. And it is the figures that go through the NPA system that are used for tax purposes. And SML's engineers explained that their meters, the SML meters, are non-intrusive. They are placed on the pipelines, but the meters at the depots that go through the NPA system that is used by customs, they take more accurate recording because they are intrusive. They take the exact measurement of petroleum product that goes through them. So the very basis for keeping that contract that SML is checking under declaration, under reporting, the company has said on record, and it is in our documentary, on camera, that we don't do those services.
So on what basis then will the presidency be acting by saying that that contract should rather go on when KPMG, and as we've watched in your documentary, have clearly alluded to the fact that they are not doing that work, and in fact have put SML, I should say, and have in fact gone ahead to take down that aspect from their website. But here we see in the president's directives that that contract must stay. So what might be contributing to that, especially when KPMG is simply telling you don't have that? Do you see that maybe KPMG has been shown contracts probably that have been signed for which reason the president now said that should go on?
Well, I would be very measured in perhaps attacking KPMG until I see the KPMG report, because I did a JIDA investigation. The president issued some directives on the JIDA report. But when the report itself was published, it was worse than what the presidency issued. This was in 2013. So with this experience, I'm a bit measured. But what we can say is that, look, it is good news to the Republic of Ghana that the upstream petroleum contract and the gold mining contracts are off the table.
Well, the Strategic Mobilization Limited has in the last few hours issued a response to the controversy. Opoku-Asante joins me in the studio with details of that response. Kweku, how is the SML responding to this controversy?
Well, Aisha, the SML statement is quite detailed. It responds to some of the concerns and some of the findings of the KPMG in this audit report that it investigated. For instance, when it came to the allegations of impropriety, KPMG, the report actually spoke about how some amount of money had been given and all that. KPMG says that report, according to SML, they believe that the report by KPMG debunks what they call a false claim that $100 million had been paid to SML by the investigators. You heard in the investigation that Manasseh put out. They also talk about what they believe is that the need for SML services has been affirmed, and they think that the president asking them to continue with certain parts of this contract shows that this contract is important, it is necessary for the state to benefit from it. Then they disagree with certain findings of KPMG. They say that they disagree with the findings that a need assessment was not done before the SML commenced the operations. They also disagree with KPMG finding that the transaction audits and external price verification agreements were all not properly done. And then KPMG also found in the report that the delivery of the contract was not up to a certain level and that they were below par delivery of the contract. So while the contract was important, KPMG did not do so, SML did not do so much of a good work. SML in this statement say they disagree with that from KPMG, and they say SML rejects KPMG's assessment that it partially delivered on several requirements regarding the transaction audit service agreement, and that regarding the transaction audit services, SML delivered fully on its obligations as outlined in the contract. And then it goes on to talk about what they believe the KPMG misquoted certain figures or they were misled in making certain representation in terms of the amount of money that has actually been paid. KPMG in their report talked about how a compensation of 1,061 million cedis have already been paid to SML. KPMG says, SML says that is not so accurate. And then they say that it's interesting to know that this figure is quoted without reference to the investments made and the taxes that have been paid by SML over the period within the consolidated conduct. And so overall, they say that the KPMG report exonerates SML and confirms the need for the company's proven services, Aisha.
Right, so it does appear that a lot more people are demanding for the full report. Definitely, the full report will put the matter to rest. Opoku-Agyemang, thank you so much for bringing us those details. Let's now get to other stories. A prison service officer has sustained a gunshot wound after a clash between prison service officers and military personnel Wednesday afternoon in Boko in the Upper East region. Details of the cause of the clash are still sketchy as the Regional and Municipal Security Council have remained silent on the matter. But some Joy News sources in Boko said the military officers were angered after the prisons officers protected some civilians who sought refuge with the prisons officers after the military pursued them. The two civilians are said to have been a nuisance at a function at the Boko Chief's Palace, and when the military pursued them in order to discipline them, they ran to the prisons to seek refuge. The military officers then demanded that the prisons officers release the civilians to them, an order which the prisons officers were reluctant to obey, and misunderstanding ensued. I've been joined by Upper East Region correspondent Albert Story, who has more on this. Albert, what more details do you have about this incident?
Yes, Aisha. So, as you said earlier, the information we have gathered on this are a bit sketchy because the security apparatus have refused to comment on the matter for now. But what we do know is that these two civilians you mentioned were, causing some sort of nuisance when the Boko Naba was inaugurating a committee for his 40th anniversary celebration. And so the army officers tried to, the military officers tried to discipline them, and they ran away. They actually thought that they were not being pursued, but after a while, some of the military personnel pursued them, and they ran into the prison's office. It was at this point that the officers went there and, tried to demand that they release these two civilians for them to discipline them. But from what we understand, the prison's officers were also trying to plead with the military to leave them once they have realized their mistake, and they were pleading with them. But after a while, it just sort of degenerated into a misunderstanding between the military officers who had gone to the prisons, and there was some sort of scuffle. And after a while, the military officers left the scene and later returned with more of their personnel, and then there was chaos. We are told that even police officers came to the scene and tried to intervene, but the prisons officers and then the military officers would not listen, and it was a sort of exchange of fisticuffs. It was complete chaos, very close to the prison's forecourt. And it was in this process that a gun was fired, and the prison's officer that talked about sustained the injury, and he's currently receiving treatment in the hospital. But one more thing I should add, Aisha, is that some people also say that there was an earlier scuffle between one prison's officer and then another military officer some time ago, which resulted in some of the prison's officers, beating up the military officers some time back. And so there seems to be some sort of old feud between them, which just sort of also escalated because of yesterday's incident. But as I said, as we speak, the regional minister and the municipal chief executive for Boko have not commented on the matter for now. So we do not know the exact details of how this whole thing started and where it is going from there.
What's the mood in the area this morning?
Well, there hasn't been any problem. Normally in Boko, when people are shot because of the conflict, then there is some sort of tension in the air. But in this case, it's between military officers. So people are talking about it, but then they are moving about their everyday activity. There hasn't been any sort of disruption to daily life in Opoku, and so everything is calm at the moment. What we do not know is how the security hierarchy, in terms of the leadership, are going to handle this matter. Because if the reports that there is an old feud between these two factions is still there, chances are that this thing is not going to end. And so these are the things that people are talking about. And some people are even worried that, the security people who should be protecting the civilians are themselves engaging in this sort of thing. So that's what is happening in Opoku-Agyemang.
Albert, sorry, it's our correspondent at the Upper East region. We'll definitely bring you more of this in our subsequent bulletins as it unfolds. We'll take a break on Joy News Desk. When we return, this business.
Hi, good morning. Welcome to Business. My name is Darrell Kwao. The Ghana Shippers Authority has criticized a practice where state agencies import goods and leave them at the ports, resulting in a cost to the country through demurrage and rent charges. According to the authority, the country lost $24 million to foreign shipping lines in demurrage, majority of which were incurred by state agencies. Yes, more.
The figures were disclosed at a workshop organized by the Ghana Shippers Authority to educate representatives of state-owned agencies such as metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies on the need to reduce demurrage charges. Speaking on behalf of the CEO of the authority, the director in charge of operations, Sylvia Sanat Daudo, said such acts lead to financial loss to the state.
A cursory look at the uncleared cargo list reveals consignment of state-owned agencies that have overstayed at the port, with some chalking hundreds of days at the port. Even though these consignments are not forfeited to the state for purposes of auction, their eventual clearance will be accompanied by huge demurrage and rent charges accumulated over the period. The authority reiterates its appeal to chief directors, chief executives, managing directors, and other relevant officers of MDAs, SOEs, to take urgent action to ensure that these consignments are expeditiously cleared from the port to mitigate the use of state resources for such avoidable cost. As an agency established to champion the interests of importers, exporters in Ghana, the authority is of the firm belief that where shippers do not occasion delays, they should not bear the associated cost. This requires all stakeholders in the shipping value chain to be minded about the cost of their actions or inactions.
Providing some recommendations on measures being taken to have a uniform system in accounting for demurrage charges, Head of Shipper Services and Trade Facilitation, Mrs. Monica Josiah, said the authority is engaging all stakeholders on the issue.
That when you get your own container, it's not as though you don't pay customs duty. But when you do the cost-benefit analysis, I believe that even paying the customs duty is better. And in any case, the customs duty remains here in Ghana. So at least you know that whatever you are paying will remain here in Ghana. So that is what I want to say to that. Now, in respect of the getting the shipping lines to count demurrage, like for us to have clarity and uniformity on demurrage-free days, the authority has severally engaged a number of them. Currently, what we are doing is we are creating a working group with various service providers, including the shipping agents, for us to look at these things. And like the chair said, our law is also being strengthened to really give effect, because some people will start counting demurrage at different times.
Now, last week, the government raised 3.34 billion cedis through its treasury bill auction, slightly below the 3.37 billion cedi target. However, Fidelity Bank's Deputy Managing Director, Asah-Asante, explains that the reduced interest in the recent auction is linked to the Bank of Ghana's recent policy shift, which raised the cash reserve ratio from 15% to 25%. This change has led banks to reconsider their strategies. Mr. Jan shared this insight with Joy Business at the Money Summit in Accra.
That each bank has a reason for perhaps not participating in the auction for treasury bills. But the overriding issue, consideration now, is that, and I'm sure you know, Bank of Ghana has increased the cash reserve requirement from 15 to 20% and 25%, depending on where you stand in terms of your loan to deposit ratio. Many of the banks are in the high end of reserving 25%. Now that's a huge amount of money, and so if you don't have that money, and I don't expect banks to have the money sitting down, that money would either be in investment like treasury bills or in loans. And so to meet that requirement, your preoccupation is to ensure that the money you have, any money that comes in, is reserved to meet that requirement. And so you have a choice between breaching the requirement and investing in T-bills. And I think as a bank regulated entity, your first option will be to meet the requirements before you think of investment. And treasury bills are investment instrument for banks. And so that probably is the reason why for the past 2 weeks you haven't seen banks participating as we used to be in those auctions. But I think individuals are participating as normal. So it has nothing to do with fear of sovereign default or where the country finds itself. And I believe it's temporary. As banks meet, I'm sure they'll go back to the auctions and invest.
Thank you very much. I'll be glad if I could get your complimentary.
All right, there's more business news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. I shall be back to wrap up the news.
And as I wrap up the bulletin this morning, my name is Aisha Ibrahim. Log on to myjoyonline.com for more of the news and updates of all the developing stories. See you again at 12.